Okay. We have to talk about this login screen animation that was data mined the other day. So in this 1 minute loop that we have right now, all we get is this kind of this motif or whatever with a depiction of, I don't know, I guess it's a damaged Azeroth in the middle, and like that's about it. Earlier expansions, you know, they put on like a show. Like I'll go ahead and load up Dragonflight. But like you remember the others, right? You know, Cataclysm's screen thing, it had Deathwing staring right at you, and Wrath had Sindragosa like rah, you know, like that. And other expansions like Miss Pandaria and TPC and Warlords, they showed more and they told more than just like this animation here. So let me show you Dragonflights and right. So when you load it from the launcher, it just kind of shoots you right here. Okay, but you know, the point is, it's the principle of having a really neat screen to look at and music to listen to if, you know, we're disconnected and the realms are down. Okay. So how about instead we load WoW from the new login screen? So what I did here, I edited some stuff and I matched the load time from the Dragonflight client on my PC, and I'm gonna simulate what the War Within, here we go, what the War Within login experience is gonna be like, so we can decide for ourselves, you know, how, okay, it's already done. So I'm pretty sure in those like 4 seconds or so, I felt, you know, I'm feeling very underwhelmed and uninspired. So let me tell you why the essence of Warcraft is dead over the next 2 hours. And at the center of it all is this pro Bobby Kotick. Why did this take up a whole news cycle? Hey, it's Sol, and this is Warcraft Weekly, your Saturday morning copium. You can help support the channel by hitting the like button, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me live on Twitch. World of Warcraft is returning to China, and no, it doesn't mean the bots are leaving and going back there. That's not how it worked then. That's not how it ever worked. NetEase was the regional operator of World of Warcraft in China before a very messy breakup the other year, since the Microsoft buyout negotiations between them and Blizzard began, and now we have a new chapter. They're back together again. WoW is reopening in the China region with Wrath Classic launching now, and it's going to quickly work its way towards Cataclysm, catching up to everyone else. Modern WoW is relaunching with the War Within pre-patch on August 1st, and it's going to be part of the big worldwide launch August 26th. And to sweeten the deal over there, all sorts of promotions and perks are heading their way. All in all, it's great for Warcraft. It's great for gamers who had their time and experience ripped away from them, not because they stopped liking the game, not because the company went out of business. It was executive drama. Probably not the kind that you'd see on HBO, but definitely on a few random clips. What's caught my eye though is this special reward being offered to players in China with regards to the race to World First. It's not Blizzard, but it's a NetEase sort of thing, but they're offering a straight up bounty. They're paying 1 million yen, or basically $140,000, to any group in China who wins the race to World First. And if they don't win, that pool of money is just going to keep growing until a win is secured. This is pretty interesting since the region has yet to claim a world first kill of, I think, anything. So it makes me wonder just how competitive that region is going to get. At one point, will the region rally around a certain guild or two and throw their support behind them to bring a world first home to China? The Wowhead article jokingly suggested that the top US and EU guilds switch regions just for this money, which I doubt it's going to be valid. After all, this is less of an official event, and like I said, it's more like a bounty NetEase is paying out, so they can just kind of change the rules as they go if they really wanted to. My guess is that NetEase is just making a very aggressive push to bring its players back who either maybe stayed offline or migrated over to other regions like Taiwan. Along with the promotions, this conditional promise of 100 grand might be enough to jumpstart the industry of WoW inside China, and like they said, someone's gotta win that race before money gets paid. WoW has been pretty busy. The remix is coasting through its second month, Cataclysm Classic is in full swing, and a new season of Discovery Phase is coming July 11th, which is like less than 2 weeks. And it's less than 2 months before the War Within launch, so let's highlight a few things that we learned this week. Let's talk about Steady Flight, or Old World Flight, that's going to be buffed to 420% of run speed in the upcoming pre-patch. All things considered, it's fast, but not too fast in the wide world of the War Within, and it's accessible through a Pathfinder. a Pathfinder achievement. It's available at the start of the expansion, and all you need to do is complete the zone quest lines and fully explore each zone. So it's just leveling and a little bit of extra wandering around. And that's it. It's super easy. It's easy to the point where, like, why even bother having steady flight be locked at all? Some folks around the internet, and probably in the comments down here, suggest that flying is an accessibility option in the face of dragon riding, which is soon to be called sky riding, because understandably not everyone enjoys the experience. Some outright struggle with it and get understandably frustrated. Now, sorry to play devil's advocate, even though that's like me in a nutshell, but what Blizzard's asking for is very different from previous Pathfinders, where they had us jump through a bunch of grindy hoops and or wait months to swim in the air. This will be the first time since Pathfinder became a thing where we don't have to experience the whole daily routine with flying or traveling that we don't like. We just need to overcome this one hurdle, and then we'll be able to experience the entire expansion the way that we want to. I have not done an exhaustive check, but leveling doesn't seem to require flying at all, and when it does, there's been an NPC or a clickable thing or a ground path to our destination. Of course, there's no shortage of disagreements on this topic, but with this, Blizzard is, for the most part, still sticking to its guns, as they have for like a decade now. What they want to do is present the early experience in a very specific way before they let things go, and with the World Within, their backs to the wall, and they're following their design philosophy at like the barest minimum. So again, we just need to do the campaign and explore the map to unlock adventure mode, and then for the rest of forever, alts will be able to level in the zone order of their choosing and have steady flight for their routine day-to-day gameplay. One of the bigger and more jarring changes coming in the War Within is, funny enough, the map. There's a barrage of new icons to identify important quests and rares and world quests and more, and not all of them are clear. So let's go over all these things together. We're a little bit off script, so excuse the tone change here. So some of these icons look very familiar. Like we got the campaign stuff, we know what that is. Local stories is what they're calling it. They identify it as quests that explore local cultures and side adventures, aka side quests. Important stuff, I guess we get a little bit of clarification here. They're identifying it as quests that unlock important features and rewards, or they teach you about major mechanics or game systems, things like that. Legendary stuff or legendary quests, I guess that's going to be a thing at some point. Here's one confusing one: meta. These are time-gated quests that give valuable end-game rewards. In other words, we're talking about like dailies as well as weeklies. So at least those are a little bit easy to identify, and in most cases, hopefully in every case, when you look at the actual quest, you'll be able to see that it is like identified as a weekly or a daily or a bi-weekly or something like that. The one that's a little confusing to me that might throw people off are the in progress quests. You can see, well, despite the errors, I'm not going to be able to mouse over. The in progress quest, it kind of at least gives you a direction of where to go for certain quests, and when you are able to mouse over these, well, I'll just try it anyway, you're able to kind of like see the objectives and things like that are there. So other things that are kind of new include world quests. Those have a new sort of icon right over here. World bosses, rare elites, and rares, they're mostly familiar, and they're at least easier to identify between the different colors, the shapes, the different icons and whatnot. Bonus objectives are what you guys are used to. It used to be like the little kind of like two swords crashing together. Now it is this star-like thing. I don't know how much more consistent this is. These events, these apply to both the kinds of events, like think of like the community feast events, the dragon Bane keep whatever, but this also applies to other things here. It's hard to see because I'm tracking too many things at once, but there's like a certain icon here that shows you this certain activity up here in Dorne, and it uses this little horn thing to denote that. And then there's activities, hey, war dungeons, war raids. Also notice here that when I'm mousing over, you can see the icons for said things appear, which is kind of useful. But yeah, dungeons and raids. The hub is kind of similar to what you would see from, let's go to Dragon Isles and Thaldraszus. It's basically the same thing as this. So what they did, they just created like a very, I guess, generic or a plain looking, a consistent icon that'll show us where to go from there. Dig sites are familiar, battles are familiar. Teleport points are what they're trying to describe as. Let me go here to Eastern Kingdoms. Actually, let's go to Kalimdor, Orgrimmar. And you can see like this teleport thing here, this is where you would go to Zuldazar. That's what they're talking about. So a teleport point will just kind of take you there. Same thing applies to like Zeppelins, which are like somewhere over here. That takes you to the Dragon Isles or so. There's this one that takes you to Booty Bay, you know, so you have some familiarity with that. Then there are these cave entrances. Now, this is another one that's a little bit hard to see, where... Let me go here to the Ringing Deeps. You can kind of see this beyond all the icon clutter. Thanks, Blizzard, for that one. There's this, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can kind of see this cave entrance here that basically takes you to a different zone. So this cave entrance, which is more like just this kind of big open hallway, this will take you to the Hallowfall zone and vice versa. So cool. And then flight points, we all kind of know what that is, right? Great. There are a few other icons that's not included in the legend that I figured are going to be added in a later build. Like delves are very important, and they look like this unless the delve is temporarily made bountiful. That's a special status. It's when it gives better rewards, and it's the reason why you won't just run the same delve over and over and over. As for the look of these, I'm personally fine with most of them, but in practice, some of these icons are a little bit hard to see, as I kind of demonstrated, especially those cave entrances that sort of look like delves, but if anything, they just kind of blend into the map. It's especially bad when it's the full screen version of the map, and I guess they pop up a little bit better on the smaller map, but you know, I prefer just colors that really pop out. Honestly, I could care less if a cave entrance is powder blue or if a regular delve is green while the bountiful delves is in epic purple. The takeaway though, thank goodness that there's even a legend at all, and a reminder, mousing over the legend will highlight all instances on them on the current map if you're having trouble finding them. The other day I gave you a first look at NPC Crafting Orders, and the WoW team posted some clarifications that'll help us understand their goals and intents. Real quick, NPC Crafting Orders will populate for our professions, giving us an opportunity to fulfill these orders for skill ups and goodies like Artisan Acuity, that's the new metal that we'll be using, and even crafting recipes. These are personal, so no one's going to camp this screen and, you know, steal work orders from you. But keep in mind that not all materials are going to be provided every time, and not all the time will you even have the recipe to fulfill an order. Sometimes you're going to need additional skill. That's where the new concentration stat comes into play, and you might not be good enough anyway. So you might not be able to complete every single crafting order every time, and that's by design. The way it feels now, if there's anything to miss out on, it's the consistent artisan's acuity that you get from fulfilling orders. Now that's primarily used for purchasing some crafting recipes and developing crafting tools. The long-term concern for a lot of players, I'm sure, is probably the crafting knowledge that they're supposed to get sometimes from orders that I think isn't really in yet. Like it should, because there's supposed to be this, you know, kind of a catch-up mechanism attached to this system, and knowledge is the one thing that we can even fall behind on. Anyway, the takeaway is, even if you join the expansion late or you miss out on orders, you're only ever going to be so far behind everyone else. It's a pretty smart scheme, and I'll explain my understanding. Okay, so you can see here on screen, we have a bunch of crafting orders, and Blizzard said that this reflects the traffic that we're going to see when we're in catch-up mode. It tells me that for crafters who are caught up, maybe we'll only see like a handful of these, like maybe 5, maybe fewer when these crafting orders refresh. So when it comes to a catch-up, we shouldn't expect a new alt coming in mid-expansion and see like 200 crafting orders to fulfill so they catch up. It's going to be more like, hey, they'll be able to earn 3 to 4 times as much knowledge as the rest of us until they're close to being fully caught up. The developers did say that catch-ups would start kicking in as soon as the second week of the expansion, so I imagine that is the furthest that they can fall behind. I'm guessing that in practice, we shouldn't expect to get like an instant 500 points for just logging in like some have asked for during Dragonflight. Think of this as more like the catch-ups that we've been seeing from seasonal currencies, as in they're not missing out, but they gotta put in a measure of the work that everyone else did, and they'll have an accelerated pace as opposed to being overwhelmed with hundreds of orders at once. And let's take a look at the new Mythic Plus affixes announced this week. In case you missed it, the WoW team announced that they're dumping most affixes and adding new ones with a seasonal flavor. This one is called Xal'atath's Bargain Ascendant, where she drops 20 of these balls that start a cast that'll power up enemies if it goes off, using some sort of disrupt like Kicks or Arcane Torrent or Psychic Scream or whatever will interrupt and kill the ads, and they'll power up your team instead. It's easy and it's kind of obnoxious at the same time, because I'm like, dude, that's a lot of little ads. It's a lot of little health and cast bars. So I don't know, just a suggestion, like maybe it'd be better if these mobs were classified as minor enemies, so we don't have to see their nameplates. And instead of a cast, it can display, I don't know, some sort of different casting animation altogether, like the bomb timer or some circular spell effect that's on the ground right under them. I'm not sure how I feel about so many of these little things appearing together. Maybe in practice it wouldn't be so bad, and the mechanic is also a positive. Like, getting rid of these things does give a buff, which makes the spent globals more than worth the efforts. But part of me thinks too, maybe instead of 20, bring it down to 10 or something like that. But I also want to bring up one other concern with these Mythic Plus changes, and real quick I'm going to tell you how these new key levels are going to work. Starting with +2s, this Zalatan's Bargain, this seasonal fix, it kicks in. At key level 4, either Fortified or Tyrannical will kick in. It just kind of depends on the week. That's the one thing that's being rotated. At level 7, the Challenger's Peril Affix kicks in, where a death means a 15-second penalty up from 5. At key level 10, both Fortified and Tyrannical are in effect, no matter what was available at level 4. And at keys 12 and higher, the Zalatan's Bargain Affix, that thing from level 2, it goes away, and instead enemies are just buffed. I like almost everything, and I think it's great that the top players who are pushing keys will have a place for themselves where it's simply the dungeon gets tougher and tougher. They can hang in their own world and carrying on over the meta slaving and balance changes, at that level, while many more of us, we stay down here and we use Mythic Plus for like gear and the seasonal rewards and so on and so forth, and the seasonal fix is balanced more so for us. But I'm not so fond of this Challenger's Peril. A 15-second penalty per death feels really punishing. It means that for people who are meaningfully trying to push their key to that higher level, like, they're really trying hard for it, a wipe will pretty much brick the key with little to no hope for the team to get it together and, make up for the lost time. I was talking with folks on stream the other day, and we had sort of an idea. So instead of a really harsh death penalty like that, instead, what if they nerfed in-combat reses, or, battle reses instead? Because right now, teams start with 1, and they get another one every 10 minutes. But what if the res count started at 0, or the recharge was changed to like 15 minutes, or, we play with those numbers a little bit? The takeaway doesn't change. It's still, don't die and do well. I'm just trying to think of other ideas, and that could be a jumping off point for a good suggestion. Whatever the case though, that's the show, and we've got to give a huge thanks to the family over on Twitch. Dude, I'm so grateful. Like, oh my god, like we were pushing really hard on getting to this freaking Partner Plus program. I guess that's like the new thing to strive for, but whatever the case, we still did really good. We did great. Let's keep the momentum going, but of course, let's not forget the very valued patrons who will keep the coffee flowing. I love you folks. And let's not forget all y'all who made it to the end of the video, the Algorithm Squad. Y'all are awesome. And I hope to see more of you as we cruise into the war within. Like the video, subscribe for more coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.